What does it truly mean to live with integrity and honor in a world full of distractions and temptations? Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be." These words, spoken centuries ago, still resonate deeply today, offering a challenge to anyone seeking to live a life of virtue in a world that often seems to pull us in the opposite direction. Integrity and honor aren't just lofty ideals, they're practical, actionable principles that can shape how we think, act, and respond to life's challenges. And that's exactly what Stoicism provides, a roadmap for building a life grounded in these timeless values. In this video, we're diving into 40 Stoic tips that will help you cultivate integrity and honor in every aspect of your life. Each tip is rooted in the wisdom of Stoic philosophy, offering you not just inspiration, but practical steps you can take to align your actions with your highest principles. Whether you're navigating personal relationships, professional challenges, or the daily grind, these insights will guide you toward becoming the person you aspire to be. So, let's begin this journey together, exploring how Stoicism can help you build a life of unwavering character and purpose. To live with integrity, you must first know yourself. This is where the Stoic principle of self-awareness comes into play, a foundational step in building a life of honor and purpose. Without understanding who you are, what you stand for, and what truly matters to you, it's nearly impossible to act with consistency or integrity. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it simply, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." In other words, clarity about your values and goals must come before action. Self-awareness isn't just about introspection. It's about holding up a mirror to your daily choices and asking whether they reflect your deepest principles. Think about a decision you made recently, perhaps how you responded to a challenging situation at work or how you spent your free time. Did your actions align with the person you aspire to be? For example, if you value honesty, did you speak truthfully even when it was uncomfortable? If you prioritize kindness, did you extend compassion even when it wasn't convenient? This kind of reflection isn't about self-criticism, it's about alignment. It's about recognizing where you might be drifting from your values and gently steering yourself back on course. The Stoics believed that living with integrity requires constant vigilance, not perfection. So, take a moment to ask yourself, what is one area of your life where your actions might not align with your values? Identifying that gap is the first step toward closing it. How often do you find yourself worrying about things that are completely out of your hands? It's easy to get caught up in the chaos of external events, but Stoicism teaches us a powerful lesson. The key to building a life of integrity and honor lies in focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you cannot. This is the Stoic dichotomy of control, a principle that reminds us to channel our energy wisely. As Seneca once said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Think about that for a moment. How much of your stress comes from things that haven't even happened yet, or may never happen at all? Integrity begins when we take responsibility for our own actions, attitudes, and responses, rather than wasting energy on circumstances beyond our influence. For example, imagine you're at work facing a tight deadline. Instead of stressing over whether your boss will be satisfied with the final result, focus on what you can do, putting in your best effort, staying organized, and maintaining a calm mindset. The outcome isn't entirely up to you, but your approach to the task is. So take a moment to reflect. What's one thing you're currently worrying about that you can't control? Is it a global event, someone else's opinion, or an unpredictable situation? By identifying these anxieties and consciously shifting your focus to what's within your power, you not only reduce unnecessary stress, but also build a stronger sense of self-respect and honor. After all, true integrity isn't about controlling the world, it's about mastering yourself. Integrity requires courage, especially when it's inconvenient. Think about it, sticking to your principles isn't always the easy path. It often means swimming against the current, standing firm when others might bend, or even sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term honor. Stoicism teaches us that true courage isn't about the absence of fear, it's about moving forward despite it. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the challenges we face aren't roadblocks, they're opportunities to prove our strength and commitment to what we believe in. Consider Cato the Younger, a Roman senator who became a symbol of unwavering integrity. During a time of political corruption and moral decay, Cato refused to compromise his values even when it meant standing alone. He didn't just talk about virtue, he lived it, even when it cost him his life. His story reminds us that courage isn't about grand gestures, it's about the quiet, consistent choices we make every day. So, let me ask you this, when was the last time you stood by your principles, even when it was difficult? Maybe it was saying no to something that didn't align with your values, or speaking up when it would have been easier to stay silent. Courage in integrity isn't about being fearless, it's about being steadfast. It's about knowing that the obstacles in your path are there to test your resolve and choosing to move forward anyway. That's how we build a life of honor, one courageous decision at a time. Are you living in harmony with your true nature? This question lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy, which teaches that aligning with nature is the key to living a virtuous and authentic life. The Stoics believed that nature isn't just the world around us, it's also the essence of who we are. To live in accordance with nature means to embrace our highest potential, to act with integrity, and to focus on what truly matters. As Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, once said, "Happiness is a good flow of life, and that flow comes when we stop resisting the natural order of things and start living in alignment with our deepest values." Think about it this way, nature operates with simplicity and purpose. A tree doesn't try to be anything other than a tree. It grows, it provides shade, it sheds its leaves when the time comes, and it doesn't waste energy on things outside its purpose. In the same way, living in accordance with nature means stripping away the distractions and expectations that pull us away from our authentic selves. It's about focusing on what truly aligns with our values, whether that's spending time with loved ones, pursuing meaningful work, or simply being present in the moment. Here's a practical way to start. Simplify your life. Take a moment to reflect on what truly matters to you. What are the things that bring you joy, fulfillment, and a sense of purpose? Now consider what you can let go of, whether it's unnecessary possessions, toxic relationships, or habits that drain your energy. By removing the clutter, you create space to live more authentically, in harmony with your true nature. So here's a challenge for you. What is one way you can live more authentically today? It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Maybe it's setting aside time to reflect, saying no to something that doesn't serve you, or simply being more present in your interactions. Every small step toward aligning with your true nature brings you closer to that good flow of life Zeno described, a life of integrity, purpose, and happiness. Integrity is built in the present moment. This simple yet profound truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed that true strength of character isn't forged in the distant past or the uncertain future. It's shaped right here, right now, by how we choose to engage with the world in front of us. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This isn't just a clever observation. It's a reminder to ground ourselves in the present, to truly listen and connect with others rather than being distracted by our own thoughts or worries. Think about the last time you were in a conversation. Were you fully present, or were you half listening while planning what to say next? Stoicism challenges us to cultivate mindfulness in these everyday moments. It's about showing up, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. When we're fully present, we're better able to act with integrity, to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Consider this modern example. Imagine you're at work and a colleague is sharing their frustrations. Instead of mentally rehearsing your advice or waiting for your turn to speak, you pause. You focus on their words, their tone, their body language. You listen not just to respond, but to understand. This act of mindfulness isn't just kind, it's an expression of integrity. It shows respect for the person in front of you and honors the moment you're sharing. So ask yourself, how can you be more present in your daily interactions? It might start with something as simple as putting your phone down during a meal or resisting the urge to multitask during a conversation. Each small step you take toward mindfulness strengthens your ability to live with integrity. After all, the present moment is where life happens. It's where we have the power to make choices that align with our values and honor the people around us. How often do you find yourself seeking recognition for your actions? It's a question worth reflecting on, because humility is one of the cornerstones of building a life of integrity and honor. Stoicism teaches us that true virtue lies in doing what's right simply because it's right, not because we expect applause, praise, or even acknowledgement. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It is not fit that I should give myself pain, for I have never intentionally given pain even to another." This profound statement reminds us that our actions should flow from a place of inner peace and selflessness, not from a desire for external validation. Think about it. When you act with humility, you're not only practicing integrity, but you're also freeing yourself from the weight of others' opinions. Imagine volunteering your time or resources without anyone knowing it was you. There's a quiet strength in that kind of generosity, a strength that aligns perfectly with Stoic principles. It's about understanding that the value of your actions isn't diminished if no one sees them. In fact, it's often amplified because you're acting purely from virtue, not from ego. So here's a challenge for you. What's one act of kindness you can do anonymously? Whether it's helping a neighbor, donating to a cause, or simply offering a kind word to a stranger, try doing something today without expecting anything in return. Not only will this strengthen your integrity, but it will also deepen your connection to the Stoic ideal of living a life of quiet, unshakable honor. Integrity begins with honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. This simple truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed that truthfulness wasn't just a moral obligation, it was a cornerstone of living a virtuous life. Seneca once said, "A liar is not believed even when he speaks the truth." Think about that for a moment. When we choose dishonesty, even in small ways, we erode trust not just with others but with ourselves. Every lie, no matter how minor, chips away at our character, making it harder to stand tall in the face of life's challenges. Consider a situation at work where you've made a mistake. It's tempting to cover it up, to hope no one notices, or to shift the blame onto someone else. But the Stoic approach is different. It's about facing the truth head-on, even when it's painful. Admitting a mistake takes courage, but it also builds respect both from others and within yourself. It's a moment where integrity shines brightest, proving that your values aren't just words, but actions you live by. So, let me ask you, when was the last time you chose honesty over convenience? It's easy to be truthful when the stakes are low, but real integrity is tested in those uncomfortable moments. The Stoics remind us that every decision to be honest, no matter how small, strengthens our moral fiber. It's not just about avoiding lies, it's about embracing the truth as a way of life, even when it's inconvenient or difficult. That's how we build a life of integrity and honor, one honest choice at a time. How often do you pause to truly appreciate the good things in your life? It's easy to get caught up in what's missing, what we wish we had. But the Stoics remind us that gratitude is a powerful tool for shifting our focus. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This simple yet profound idea encourages us to find joy in what's already present, rather than lamenting what's absent. Gratitude isn't just a pleasant feeling, it's a practice that can transform how we see the world. When we actively acknowledge the good in our lives, we train our minds to notice abundance rather than scarcity. It's like adjusting a lens. Suddenly, the small, everyday blessings come into focus. A warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or even the ability to take a deep breath. These are gifts we often overlook but are worth celebrating. One practical way to cultivate this mindset is by keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, take a moment to write down 3 things you're grateful for. It could be as simple as a sunny morning or as significant as a milestone you've reached. Over time, this habit rewires your brain to seek out the positive, even in challenging times. So let's put this into action right now. What are 3 things you're grateful for today? Take a moment to reflect, whether it's your health, your loved ones, or even the opportunity to learn and grow. Acknowledging these blessings can ground you in the present and deepen your sense of fulfillment. Gratitude, as the Stoics teach us, isn't just about feeling thankful, it's about building a life rooted in appreciation and contentment. Integrity is a long-term commitment, not a quick fix. It's not something you achieve overnight or through a single act of willpower. True integrity is built over time, brick by brick, through consistent effort and unwavering patience. Stoicism teaches us that life's challenges aren't obstacles to avoid but opportunities to grow stronger. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing." It's not always graceful or comfortable, but it's in the struggle, the daily grind, the small choices, the moments of endurance where we forge our character. Take Seneca, for example. When he was exiled to Corsica by Emperor Claudius, he didn't crumble under the weight of his circumstances. Instead, he used that time to reflect, write, and deepen his understanding of Stoic principles. His patience in the face of injustice allowed him to turn what could have been a devastating setback into a period of profound personal growth. He didn't rush to reclaim his former life. He embraced the moment, knowing that every challenge was a teacher in disguise. Patience is more than just waiting, it's about maintaining your values and staying steady, even when progress feels slow or the path ahead seems unclear. It's about trusting the process and understanding that integrity isn't built in moments of ease, but in moments of difficulty. So ask yourself, where in your life do you need more patience? Is it in your career, your relationships, or perhaps your personal goals? Whatever it is, remember that every small step forward, no matter how insignificant it seems, is a step toward a life of honor and integrity. How much of what you do is truly necessary? This is a question the Stoics ask themselves regularly, and it's one we should all consider. At the heart of Stoic philosophy is the idea that a life of integrity and honor isn't built on accumulating more possessions, more commitments, more distractions, but on focusing on what truly matters. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it this way: "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In other words, poverty isn't about what you lack, it's about the endless desire for more, a mindset that can trap us in a cycle of dissatisfaction. Simplicity, then, becomes a powerful tool for living honorably. Think about it. When you strip away the unnecessary, you create space for what truly aligns with your values. This doesn't just apply to physical clutter, though decluttering your home or workspace can be a great starting point, but also to the mental clutter that weighs us down. How often do we fill our days with tasks, obligations, or even thoughts that don't serve us? The Stoics believed that by focusing on the essentials, we free ourselves to live with purpose and clarity. Here's a practical example. Imagine your schedule is packed with meetings, errands, and social commitments. Some of these are meaningful, but others might just be there out of habit or a sense of obligation. What if you took a step back and asked yourself, which of these truly adds value to my life? By simplifying your commitments, you're not just creating more time, you're creating more room for what truly matters. So, what's one thing you can simplify in your life today? Maybe it's clearing out a drawer, saying no to an unnecessary obligation, or even just taking a few minutes to quiet your mind and focus on what's important. The beauty of simplicity is that it's not about deprivation, it's about making space for the things that bring you closer to living with integrity and honor. Integrity requires self-control in all areas of life. This is where the Stoic principle of temperance comes into play. Temperance isn't about denying yourself pleasure, it's about mastering your desires so they don't master you. As Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Think about that for a moment. True freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want, it's the ability to choose what's right, even when it's hard. Temperance helps us avoid excess and find balance, whether it's in how we spend our time, what we consume, or how we react to challenges. Let's take a modern example: screen time. How often do we lose hours scrolling through social media or binge-watching shows, only to feel drained and unproductive afterward? Temperance invites us to step back and ask, is this adding value to my life, or is it just a distraction? By moderating our screen time, we create space for more meaningful activities: reading, connecting with loved ones, or pursuing personal growth. It's not about cutting out technology entirely, but about using it intentionally in a way that aligns with our values. So, here's a question to reflect on. What is one habit you need to moderate to live more virtuously? Maybe it's reducing impulsive spending, eating more mindfully, or even curbing your temper in heated moments. Temperance isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, it's a personal practice of self-awareness and discipline. When we cultivate this virtue, we not only strengthen our integrity, but also build a life that's balanced, purposeful, and free from the chains of excess. What does it truly mean to treat others with fairness and justice? It's easy to say we value these principles, but when faced with challenging situations, do our actions reflect them? Stoicism invites us to examine this deeply, urging us to act justly even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee." In other words, our individual actions ripple outward, affecting the collective well-being. When we act unjustly, we harm not only others but also ourselves, disrupting the harmony we rely on to thrive. Think about a time when you witnessed someone being treated unfairly. Maybe it was a coworker overlooked for a promotion, a friend excluded from a group, or even a stranger being spoken to harshly. Did you step in or did you stay silent? Stoicism challenges us to stand up for what's right, even when it's easier to look away. It's not about grand gestures, but the small, consistent acts of fairness that define our character. For instance, offering support to someone in need, listening when others dismiss, or simply treating everyone with the same respect you'd want for yourself. So, how can you practice fairness in your daily interactions? Start by pausing before you react. Ask yourself, am I responding out of emotion or am I choosing to act with integrity? Treating others justly often requires us to set aside our biases, our frustrations, and even our egos. It's about recognizing the humanity in others, no matter how different they may seem. Whether it's in your workplace, your relationships, or even casual encounters, fairness is a choice, one that builds trust, respect, and a life of honor. Integrity is tested in times of difficulty. This is where true character reveals itself, not in moments of ease but in the storms of life. Stoicism teaches us that adversity isn't something to avoid or fear. It's an opportunity to grow stronger, to refine our mindset, and to build a life of unshakable honor. As Seneca once said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Think about that for a moment. Just as physical exercise builds muscle, the challenges we face build mental and emotional resilience. They shape us into people who can stand firm, even when everything around us feels uncertain. Consider this. Imagine you've worked tirelessly on a project only to see it fail. It's disheartening, yes, but Stoicism invites us to reframe this experience. Instead of seeing it as a defeat, view it as a chance to learn, to adapt, and to come back wiser. Resilience isn't about never falling, it's about how you rise after the fall. It's about choosing to move forward with dignity, even when the path ahead feels rocky. So, what's one challenge you're currently facing? Maybe it's a personal setback, a professional obstacle, or even an internal struggle. Whatever it is, ask yourself, how can I approach this with resilience? How can I use this moment to strengthen my mind, just as Seneca described? Remember, it's not the challenge itself that defines you, it's how you respond to it. And when you respond with integrity and courage, you're not just enduring adversity, you're transforming it into a stepping stone toward a life of greater honor and strength. How often do you take a moment to truly reflect on your actions and decisions? In the hustle of daily life, it's easy to move from one task to the next without pausing to consider whether our choices align with our values. This is where the Stoic practice of daily reflection comes in, a simple yet profound tool for building integrity and honor. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once advised, examine yourself every night before you go to sleep. This isn't just about reviewing what you did, it's about asking yourself whether your actions reflected the person you aspire to be. Imagine ending your day by sitting quietly, perhaps with a journal in hand, and recounting the moments that stood out. Did you act with patience when you were frustrated? Did you respond with courage in the face of uncertainty? Reflection allows you to celebrate the times you lived in alignment with your values and learn from the moments you fell short. It's not about self-criticism, but about growth. In modern terms, think of it as a nightly debrief, a way to track your progress and recalibrate for the day ahead. Here's a question to consider as you reflect. What is one thing you learned about yourself today? Maybe you discovered a hidden strength in a challenging situation or recognized a habit that no longer serves you. This practice isn't just about introspection, it's about creating a feedback loop that helps you live with greater intention. By making reflection a daily habit, you're not just passing through life, you're actively shaping it, one thoughtful decision at a time. Integrity is not just about being honest, it's also about being kind. Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies in treating others with compassion and understanding, even when it's difficult. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." This powerful metaphor reminds us that we're all connected, and the way we treat others ultimately reflects on our own character. When we act with kindness, we're not just helping others, we're nurturing our own integrity and building a life of honor. Think about the last time someone went out of their way to show you kindness. Maybe it was a stranger who held the door open when your hands were full, or a friend who listened without judgment when you needed to vent. Small acts of compassion can have a profound impact, not just on the recipient but on the person giving as well. For instance, imagine you're walking down the street and see someone struggling with a heavy bag. Stopping to offer help, even for a moment, isn't just a gesture of goodwill, it's a practice in aligning your actions with your values. So, how can you show more kindness in your daily life? It doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. Start by noticing the opportunities around you, holding the elevator, offering a genuine compliment, or simply listening when someone speaks. Each act, no matter how small, reinforces your commitment to living with integrity. Kindness isn't a weakness, it's a strength that reflects the depth of your character and your dedication to building a life that honors yourself and others. Do you judge yourself by your efforts or your results? It's a question that cuts to the heart of how we measure our worth. Stoicism offers a powerful perspective here. It's not about the outcomes you achieve, but the effort you put forth. This idea might feel counterintuitive in a world that often celebrates results above all else, but Stoic philosophy reminds us that the only true control we have lies in our actions and intentions, not in the external rewards or recognition that may or may not follow. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. Think about it this way. When you pour your energy into a project, giving it your all, the outcome is often influenced by factors beyond your control. Maybe the market shifts or someone else's decision changes the course of events, but your effort, that's entirely yours. It's your contribution, your integrity, and your commitment to doing what's right regardless of the result. Stoicism teaches us to find pride in that effort, to see it as the true measure of our character. Let's say you've spent months working on a creative project, a book, a business idea, or even a personal goal like improving your health. You dedicate time, energy, and focus, but when it's done, the reception isn't what you hoped for. It's easy to feel defeated, to question whether all that work was worth it. But Stoicism invites you to reframe that disappointment. The value wasn't in the applause or the sales numbers. It was in the discipline you showed, the lessons you learned, and the person you became in the process. So, what's one goal you're pursuing right now where you can shift your focus to the effort rather than the outcome? Maybe it's a fitness journey, a career milestone, or even a relationship you're nurturing. Whatever it is, remind yourself that the effort you put in is where your power lies. The results may vary, but your commitment to showing up day after day is what builds a life of integrity and honor. Integrity requires the strength to forgive. It's not easy, but it's essential for living a life of honor and purpose. Stoicism teaches us that holding onto anger or resentment only harms us in the long run. As Seneca once said, anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. When we cling to grudges, we give power to the past, allowing it to dictate our present and future. But forgiveness, that's where true freedom lies. It doesn't mean excusing the wrong someone did or pretending it never happened. It means choosing to release the emotional weight that's holding you back so you can focus on your own growth and well-being. Think about it this way: when you forgive, you're not doing it for the other person. You're doing it for yourself. You're reclaiming your peace and refusing to let someone else's actions define your emotional state. Imagine carrying a heavy rock everywhere you go. At first, it might feel manageable, but over time, it wears you down. Forgiveness is about setting that rock down and walking away. It's about choosing to move forward, unburdened and free. Let's take a moment to reflect. Is there someone in your life you need to forgive? Maybe it's a friend who betrayed your trust, a family member who hurt you, or even yourself for past mistakes. Holding onto that pain might feel justified, but ask yourself, is it helping you grow? Is it helping you live with integrity? Forgiveness isn't about weakness, it's about strength. It's about choosing to rise above the hurt and focus on what truly matters, your own journey toward becoming the best version of yourself. So who do you need to forgive to take that next step forward? How disciplined are you in pursuing your goals? It's a question worth reflecting on, because discipline is at the heart of building a life of integrity and honor. Stoicism teaches us that self-discipline isn't just about willpower, it's about aligning our actions with our values, even when it's difficult. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. These words remind us that discipline begins within. It's about mastering our impulses, staying focused on what truly matters, and not letting distractions or external pressures derail us. Think about a modern example: sticking to a daily routine. Whether it's waking up early, exercising, or dedicating time to a creative project, these small acts of discipline compound over time. They build resilience, reinforce your commitment to your goals, and ultimately shape your character. But discipline isn't just about grand gestures. It's found in the quiet, consistent choices we make every day. It's saying no to distractions, staying true to your principles, and choosing the harder path when it's the right one. So, what's one habit you can commit to with more discipline? Maybe it's setting aside time to reflect on your actions, or perhaps it's resisting the urge to procrastinate when a task feels overwhelming. Whatever it is, remember that every act of discipline brings you closer to living with integrity. It's not about perfection, it's about progress, and as the Stoics believed, each small step forward is a step toward virtue. Integrity doesn't mean being perfect, it means striving to be better. This is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics understood that perfection is an illusion, and chasing it can lead to frustration and self-doubt. Instead, they encouraged us to accept our imperfections as part of the human experience while committing to continuous growth. As Epictetus wisely put it, no great thing is created suddenly. Progress takes time, and every misstep is an opportunity to learn and improve. Think about the last time you made a mistake. Maybe you said something you regretted or failed to meet a goal you set for yourself. Instead of dwelling on the error, the Stoic approach would be to reflect on what happened, extract the lesson, and use it to move forward. For instance, imagine you're learning a new skill, like playing an instrument or public speaking, and you stumble along the way. Rather than beating yourself up, you can view each mistake as a stepping stone toward mastery. Here's the challenge: what is one area in your life where you can embrace imperfection while still striving to grow? Maybe it's in your relationships, your career, or even your personal habits. The key is to acknowledge where you are today without judgment, while taking deliberate steps toward becoming the person you aspire to be. After all, integrity isn't about never falling, it's about getting back up every time you do, with a clearer understanding of how to move forward. How loyal are you to the people who matter most in your life? It's a question worth sitting with for a moment, because loyalty is one of the cornerstones of strong, meaningful relationships. In Stoicism, loyalty isn't just about staying by someone's side when it's convenient. It's about standing firm in your commitment, even when the waters get rough. Seneca once wrote, "Friendship always benefits, love sometimes injures." What he meant is that true loyalty, rooted in deep respect and care, strengthens bonds and brings mutual support, while love alone, without the anchor of loyalty, can sometimes lead to harm. Think about the people who have stood by you during your toughest moments. Maybe it was a friend who listened without judgment when you were at your lowest, or a family member who showed up when you needed them most. These acts of loyalty create trust and deepen connections. But loyalty isn't just about what others do for us, it's also about how we show up for them. It's about being dependable even when it's hard. Here's a small but powerful way to practice this. The next time someone you care about is struggling, resist the urge to turn away or offer quick fixes. Instead, simply be present, listen without interrupting. Show them that you're there no matter what. It's in these moments that loyalty shines brightest, not in grand gestures, but in the quiet, consistent acts of care. So, how can you show more loyalty to those you care about? Start by reflecting on how you've shown up for others in the past. Are there ways you could have been more supportive? Are there relationships where you've let distractions or convenience take priority? Loyalty, in the Stoic sense, is about choosing to prioritize the people who matter, even when it's not easy. It's about being the kind of person others can rely on, no matter the circumstances. Integrity is a journey, not a destination. It's not something you achieve once and then forget about. It's a lifelong commitment to staying true to your values, even when the path gets tough. Stoicism reminds us that perseverance is the backbone of integrity. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The universe is change, our life is what our thoughts make it." This idea underscores the importance of keeping your focus steady, even when the world around you feels chaotic or uncertain. Progress might be slow, but every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory in building a life of honor. Think about a long-term goal you've been working toward. Maybe it's learning a new skill, improving a relationship, or mastering a craft. There are moments when it feels like you're not getting anywhere, when the effort seems endless and the results invisible. But Stoicism teaches us that these moments are where true growth happens. It's not about how fast you move, but about the consistency of your effort. Every time you choose to keep going, even when it's hard, you're reinforcing your integrity. Take modern examples: someone training for a marathon, building a business from the ground up, or even repairing a broken trust. These are all journeys that demand relentless perseverance. They're not won in a single moment, but through countless small decisions to stay the course. What's one goal in your life that requires more perseverance? Whatever it is, remember that every effort you make, no matter how small, is a step toward becoming the person you aspire to be. Integrity isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Keep moving forward and trust that the journey itself is shaping you into someone stronger and more honorable. What is your guiding purpose in life? This is a question that Stoicism challenges us to confront head-on. The Stoics believed that living with purpose is not just a lofty ideal, but a practical necessity for a life of integrity and honor. As Epictetus once said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that clarity of purpose must come before action. Without a clear sense of direction, our efforts can feel scattered, and our lives lack the depth and meaning we crave. Living with purpose means aligning your daily actions with a greater sense of meaning. It's about asking yourself not just what you want to achieve, but why it matters. For example, setting a goal to advance in your career isn't enough on its own. What truly gives it weight is understanding how that goal connects to a larger vision, whether it's providing for your family, contributing to your community, or pursuing a passion that fuels your growth. Stoicism teaches us to ground our ambitions in values that transcend fleeting desires, ensuring that our pursuits are both meaningful and enduring. Imagine someone who sets out to run a marathon. At first, the goal might seem daunting, even impossible. But when they connect it to a deeper purpose, perhaps to honor a loved one who inspired them or to prove to themselves that they can overcome challenges, the training becomes more than just a series of steps. It becomes a reflection of their character and commitment. This is the Stoic approach. Every action, no matter how small, is an opportunity to live in alignment with your purpose. So, what is one way you can live more purposefully today? It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could be as simple as choosing to spend quality time with someone you care about, dedicating an hour to a project that matters to you, or even pausing to reflect on what truly drives your decisions. The key is to act with intention, knowing that each choice you make is a step toward building a life of integrity and honor. Purpose isn't something you find, it's something you create moment by moment through the way you live. Integrity requires focus in a world full of distractions. The Stoics understood this deeply, teaching us to prioritize what truly matters over what merely demands our attention. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This reminder is especially relevant today, where endless notifications, social media feeds, and constant demands on our time can pull us away from our values and goals. Self-discipline in this context becomes a shield against these distractions, allowing us to stay aligned with our principles. Think about your daily habits for a moment. How often do you find yourself scrolling through your phone only to realize an hour has slipped by? Or perhaps you've planned to work on something important only to get sidetracked by trivial tasks. These moments, though small, add up. They chip away at our ability to live with integrity and honor, because integrity isn't just about big, dramatic choices, it's also about the small, consistent decisions we make every day. One practical way to build self-discipline is by setting clear boundaries. For example, you might decide to limit your social media use to a specific time of day or turn off notifications during focused work periods. It's not about cutting out everything enjoyable, but about creating space for what truly matters. What is one distraction in your life that you can reduce or eliminate to focus more on your priorities? By doing so, you're not just reclaiming time, you're reclaiming your ability to live intentionally, guided by the values you hold dear. How often do you pause to consider someone else's perspective, to truly step into their shoes and see the world through their eyes? Empathy isn't just a soft skill or a nice-to-have. It's a cornerstone of integrity and honor. Stoicism, often misunderstood as cold or detached, actually places great emphasis on understanding and caring for others. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most celebrated voices, once wrote, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself, what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize?" This simple yet profound question challenges us to look inward before casting judgment, reminding us that our shared humanity connects us more than our differences divide us. Think about it. When a friend shares their struggles, do you listen with the intent to understand, or do you immediately offer advice or criticism? True empathy requires us to set aside our own biases and assumptions, creating space for others to feel heard and valued. It's not about agreeing with everything someone says or does. It's about acknowledging their experience as valid and worthy of respect. In modern terms, this might look like sitting with a friend who's going through a tough time, not offering solutions but simply being present. So, how can you practice more empathy in your daily life? Start small. The next time you're tempted to judge someone, pause and ask yourself what Marcus Aurelius suggested. What fault of mine mirrors this? Or when someone speaks, focus on truly listening, not just waiting for your turn to talk. These small acts of empathy ripple outward, strengthening your relationships and deepening your sense of integrity. After all, a life of honor isn't just about how you treat yourself. It's about how you treat others, even when it's challenging. Integrity requires adaptability in the face of change, a truth the Stoics understood deeply. Life is a constant flow of shifting circumstances, and resisting this flow only leads to frustration and suffering. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." What he meant is that true freedom comes from mastering our reactions to the world around us, not from trying to control the uncontrollable. Change is inevitable, but how we respond to it is entirely within our power. Think about a time you faced a major shift in your life, perhaps starting a new job, moving to a new city, or even navigating a sudden loss. At first, it might have felt overwhelming, even disorienting. But what if, instead of resisting, you approached it with curiosity and openness? The Stoics believed that every change, no matter how challenging, is an opportunity to grow and strengthen your character. By embracing change, you align yourself with the natural order of things rather than fighting against it. Consider this: when you resist change, you're essentially clinging to an illusion of control. But when you accept it, you free yourself to adapt and thrive. Picture someone stepping into a leadership role for the first time. It's daunting, yes, but it's also a chance to develop resilience, creativity, and confidence. The same applies to smaller, everyday changes like adjusting to a new routine or learning a new skill. Each one is a step toward becoming more adaptable, more grounded, and ultimately more aligned with your principles. So here's a question to reflect on. What is one change you're resisting that you could embrace? Maybe it's a shift in your career, a change in a relationship, or even a new habit you've been hesitant to adopt. Whatever it is, ask yourself, what could I gain by letting go of resistance and moving forward with courage? The Stoics remind us that change isn't the enemy, it's the very thing that shapes us into who we're meant to be. Do you act with integrity even in the smallest matters? It's easy to focus on the big, visible moments where our choices are scrutinized. But Stoicism reminds us that true integrity is forged in the everyday, seemingly insignificant actions. As Seneca once said, it is quality rather than quantity that matters. Every decision, no matter how minor, is a reflection of your character and values. Think about it: returning a lost wallet, admitting a mistake even when no one is watching, or choosing honesty in a conversation where a lie might go unnoticed. These small acts may seem trivial, but they're the building blocks of a life lived with honor. Stoics believe that virtue isn't just about grand gestures, it's about consistency in the little things. When you act with integrity in the details, you cultivate a habit of moral strength that becomes second nature. Here's a simple challenge for you. What's one small action you can take today to demonstrate integrity? It could be as straightforward as keeping a promise you made to yourself or speaking kindly to someone even when you're frustrated. These moments might feel small, but they ripple outward, shaping not just who you are, but how others see and trust you. Integrity, after all, isn't a single act, it's a way of living, one small choice at a time. Integrity begins with self-reflection. It's the foundation upon which true personal growth is built. Stoicism teaches us that to live with honor and authenticity, we must regularly examine our thoughts, actions, and motivations. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. In other words, what we think shapes who we are, our character, our choices, and ultimately our destiny. Take a moment to consider your own life. How often do you pause to reflect on your day, your decisions, or your reactions? Self-reflection isn't just about looking back, it's about gaining clarity and understanding so you can move forward with purpose. Think of it as a daily practice like journaling or meditating, where you ask yourself, did I act in alignment with my values today? Did I respond to challenges with patience and wisdom, or did I let my emotions take control? Here's a modern example. Imagine ending your day by sitting quietly for 10 minutes, replaying the events in your mind. What went well? What could you have handled differently? This simple act of reflection helps you identify patterns, celebrate progress, and learn from mistakes. It's not about judgment or regret, it's about growth. So, let me ask you, what is one thing you've learned about yourself through self-reflection? Maybe you've discovered a tendency to overreact under pressure, or perhaps you've realized how much joy comes from small acts of kindness. Whatever it is, these insights are the building blocks of a life lived with integrity. By taking the time to look inward, you're not just improving yourself, you're shaping the legacy you'll leave behind. How often do you catch yourself replaying past mistakes or anxiously mapping out future scenarios that may never happen? It's easy to get lost in thoughts about what's already happened or what might come next, but Stoicism offers a powerful antidote: focus on the present moment. This principle isn't just about mindfulness, it's about reclaiming control over your attention and energy. As Epictetus wisely said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. This isn't just a call to listen to others, it's a reminder to truly hear and engage with the world around you, right here, right now. Think about the last time you were in a conversation. Were you fully present, or were you half listening while planning your response? Stoicism challenges us to be fully immersed in the moment, whether we're speaking, listening, or simply observing. It's about letting go of distractions and giving your full attention to the task or person in front of you. For instance, instead of letting your mind wander during a discussion, try actively listening. Notice the tone of the other person's voice, the nuances of their words, and the emotions behind them. This small shift can transform ordinary interactions into meaningful connections. So, how can you bring more presence into your daily life? Start with something simple, like pausing before you speak or taking a deep breath when you feel your mind drifting. These small actions can help you anchor yourself in the present, where life truly happens. After all, the past is unchangeable, and the future is uncertain, but the present moment is where you have the power to act, to choose, and to live with integrity. What's one way you can practice being more present today? True leadership requires integrity. Without it, even the most charismatic or skilled leader will fail to inspire trust or lasting respect. Stoicism teaches us that leadership isn't about power or control, it's about fairness, honesty, and humility. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." This means that true leaders are forged through challenges, not by avoiding them, but by facing them with unwavering principles. Think about a leader who admits a mistake publicly. It's a rare and powerful act, right? Instead of deflecting blame or hiding errors, they take responsibility, showing the world that integrity matters more than appearances. This kind of honesty doesn't weaken their authority, it strengthens it. People are drawn to leaders who are human, who show vulnerability and the courage to do what's right, even when it's hard. So, how can you lead with more integrity in your own life? Start by asking yourself, are your actions aligned with your values? Are you treating others with fairness, even when it's inconvenient? Integrity isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent in your commitment to doing the right thing, no matter the circumstances. Reflect on this. What's one area in your life where you can take a stand for honesty and fairness today? Small, consistent acts of integrity build the foundation of true leadership, one step at a time. How patient are you with the people in your life? It's a question worth asking because, let's be honest, relationships can test us in ways few other things do. Stoicism teaches us to approach these challenges with understanding and tolerance, reminding us that patience isn't just a virtue, it's a practice. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, once wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." It's a stark reminder that people are human, flawed, and often difficult. But instead of reacting with frustration, Stoicism invites us to meet these imperfections with calm and patience. Think about a time when someone close to you acted in a way that felt unfair or hurtful. Maybe a friend cancelled plans last minute, or a coworker took credit for your idea. In those moments, it's easy to let anger take over. But what if instead you paused and asked yourself, why might they be acting this way? Perhaps they're dealing with stress, insecurity, or something entirely unrelated to you. By choosing patience, you create space for understanding rather than conflict. Here's a modern example. Imagine you're in a heated argument with a partner. Emotions are running high and the temptation to lash out is strong. But instead of escalating the situation, you take a deep breath, step back, and give yourself time to respond rather than react. This small act of patience can transform the entire dynamic, turning a potential blow-up into a moment of connection. So, what's one relationship in your life where you could practice more patience? It might be with a family member, a friend, or even yourself. Stoicism reminds us that patience isn't about letting others walk all over us. It's about choosing to respond with grace, even when it's hard. And over time, this practice can deepen our relationships and strengthen our sense of integrity. Integrity means accepting feedback without defensiveness. It's not always easy to hear criticism, but Stoicism teaches us to see it as an opportunity for growth rather than a personal attack. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, offered a powerful perspective on this. He said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" In other words, criticism is rarely the whole story. It's just a glimpse into how others perceive us, and it's up to us to decide how we use that information. Think about a time when you received constructive feedback at work. Maybe it felt uncomfortable or even unfair in the moment, but what if you approached it differently? Instead of reacting defensively, what if you paused and asked yourself, "What can I learn from this?" Stoicism encourages us to detach from our initial emotional reactions and focus on the value that criticism can bring. It's not about agreeing with every critique, but about considering whether there's a kernel of truth that can help us improve. So, how can you respond to criticism with more grace? Start by listening fully without interrupting. Resist the urge to justify or explain away the feedback. Instead, thank the person for their perspective, even if you don't agree with it. This doesn't mean you have to accept everything at face value, but it does mean acknowledging that their viewpoint has value. Over time, this practice builds not only your integrity but also your resilience. Criticism becomes less about ego and more about growth, a tool to refine your character rather than a blow to your self.